Completing this series, when it comes to HoloLive English, we have part 4 of putting HoloLive members into Pokemon. This time, HoloJustice. Not gonna yap too much here, the base stat total will match the one Advent had of 550, since they are supposed to be rivals. Not really supposed to be. They are rivals. By the way, yeah, I don't know how I forgot that pseudo legendaries also have a base stat total of 600 and not 500. I was so confident in it that I didn't even bother double checking it. So that's on me, my bad. But let's get into it, and let's start off with our favorite pink cat, Raora. Typing is actually interesting in Justice's case, since Raora herself kinda already gave us the typing of the members. Now this is in context of what type they would have as a trainer if they were a gym leader, but I think it's about the same train of thought for both questions. That means we have a direct comparison with a Justice member's opinion itself. Oh, and by the way, I made the typing before I even knew that Raora did that, so just letting you guys know. And for Raora herself, she went with Fairy Psychic. Well, I personally wouldn't quite go with that. The Psychic typing as a secondary type works fine here, and I would also go with that one. But for Fairy, yes, Raora is pink, I know, but I can't just give her the Fairy typing just because she's pink. If that was the rule, I would have to give Cecilia the Grass typing, which doesn't make too much sense. So I'm sorry, Raora, as bad as you don't want to be a normal type, you gotta be one. You're literally a normal cat with psychic powers. So you're either pure psychic or normal psychic, and since I prefer giving these members 2 types instead of just 1, I'll go with normal psychic. When it comes to stats, you guys will probably notice that apart from one member of Justice, the stats will be rather balanced. Also, they are all physical attackers. Raora with her nail claw thingies, Cecilia with her lance, Gigi with her gauntlets, and Elizabeth with her sword. But Raora will be the least offensive one out of them, with an attack stat of 90. All of the other stats are also very solid, apart from the speed stat. Raora is a cat after all, so giving her a bit of a boost in the speed department seems very fitting to me. Raora's ability is very straightforward. Of course, we will give her God Eyes as an ability, and I decided to go with something that at least I'm very sure doesn't exist in Pokemon this way yet. Raora's ability does the following. Once Raora enters the field, it reveals one of the opponent's Pokemon in the bag that you have not seen yet. It would be displayed in the little text window at the bottom, the same way the ability Frisk tells you what kind of items the Pokemon are holding. Lastly, since Raora's role in Justice is to file reports, for the most part, I wanted her to have a status move as a signature move. Raora's signature move is just gonna be called reporting. And I'm not talking about the thing my ADC does the moment I miss 2 hooks in a row. I'm talking about doing reports and you know, like important stuff. Anyway, reporting is basically a beefed up mean look, not only trapping the target for 3 turns, but also making them receive 20% more damage from all sources. Apart from attacking moves, that would also include stuff like Sandstorm, Poison, Recoil damage, and even stuff like Rocky Helmet and Life Orb. Now, as it is with any trapping move, there are multiple ways to get out of it. Most commonly pivot moves such as Volt Switch or U-turn. But also Raora leaving the field in any way, either by fainting or by getting switched out, will end the effect of this move. Now this move does not impact the field situation right away, and trapping effects, unless it's obtained passively by, for example, Gothitail's Shadow Tag, are not very popular, apart from catching roaming legendaries in a playthrough. So this move is probably not the best if you're talking competitively, but it's still a cool move and can for sure have some impact in certain situations. Let's continue with Gigi, who was also kinda straightforward. Looking at Raora's suggestion for her types, we can see that she gave Gigi a fighting electric typing. And what can I say? I fully agree. Fighting is a no-brainer. And for the secondary typing, there were like 2 or maybe 3 options if you want. For one, there is electric, which is just a one-on-one fit to Gigi's personality. There is also flying type that also got suggested under the last video, and I can see it. Her design with the fans and the vents in her jacket gives her kind of an airy pilot-esque vibe. So it for sure is an option. And then there is maybe fire or even steel. Fire is also just a reflection of her personality, and steel would just take her gauntlets, most likely being out of metal. But I feel like electric, showing her Genki, never resting personality, is the best fit here. And her restless personality is even more shown by the stats I gave to her. She will be a very fast brawler, recording the lowest special attack stat thus far in this series. There ain't no spellcasting going on for her. Now for the ability I will be going with a similar route. It's called Hyper, and all it does is to double Gigi's speed once she's inflicted with a status condition. We already have this with attack, with the ability Guts, and we also have it with defense, with the ability Marvel Scale. And with Gigi's introduction, we will have the same thing, just with speed. In addition to that, Gigi is unable to fall asleep at all, because I literally can't imagine this girl ever being anything else but hyper. Now, just like the ability Guts, this ability counteracts and completely negates the attack degrees when getting inflicted with the burn status condition. That way, you can freely choose if you wanna run Toxic or Flame Orb on her. Now, I already hear you say that the usage of either Toxic or Flame Orb already does prevent Gigi from falling asleep, and that's true, but I just wanted that additional effect because it's just way too fitting for Gigi. And who knows, that way you can't at least get slapped the first turn before the item even activates. Finally, for Gigi's signature move, I wanted something that is just brute force, but also with a decently high chance to miss. Introducing Gremlin Fist, a 130 base power fighting type move with an accuracy of 70. That will be the second move in the game that can knock off items from the enemy. In addition to that, if this move knocks off an item, the target hit will be confused with a 100% chance. This is a go big or go home kind of move that in my opinion suits Gigi very well, since Gigi is known to cause a good amount of collateral damage in her pursuit of justice. Next up, Cecilia, who I honestly had struggles coming up with fitting move and abilities for. So I had to consult the Discord to help me out, and with a bit of help I think I came up with something fitting. I hope at least, you all be the judge. I honestly struggled a lot here. But first, typing and stats. Cecilia will be a steel type. Yeah, that's it, only a steel type. I know Raora, she's green and all, but we talked about this. We won't give it a grass typing just because she's green. So we have a steel monotype right here. Now of course I also tried to give her another typing. I thought of maybe fighting, cause well she fights, and then we have the buddy-buddy synergy with Gigi. I also thought of maybe electric, cause she's an automaton. I even did consider grass for a little while, but at the end of the day, none of them really fit, so mono steel it is. Looking at the stats, I wanted to make Cecilia the most defensive Justice member, giving her a solid 130 defense and a good 100 special defense. Cecilia is overall well balanced, but also being the slowest member of Justice. I honestly don't know how accurate this is to the lore, but that's just the vibes I'm getting here. Now we get to the more difficult part, signature ability and move. Cecilia's signature ability that I came up with is called Adaptive Defense, which is a name I most definitely didn't steal from a certain video game. It does the following. When Cecilia gets hit by a move, she sets up a respective screen depending on what kind of move she got hit by, using her adaptability as an automaton and learning from the hits she just received. Of course, when hit with a physical move, she will set up Reflect, and when hit with a special move, she will set up a light screen. But she cannot set up both within the same switch in, since this ability only activates once per switch in, meaning the first screen that gets set up is the only one she will set up, unless you go through the efforts of switching her out and in again. Which makes me kinda think that the eject button might be a cool and viable item on her. For those who don't know, the eject button switches a Pokemon out upon getting hit by an attacking move. In Cecilia's case, that would mean that she would first set up the screen and then get switched out. Now of course for both screens to get set up, your enemy would have to attack Cecilia with both types of moves. Or if you're crazy enough, you can also attack her yourself with both those respective moves, special and physical. Cecilia's signature move might be the most detailed and thought out move I have made in this series yet. It's called Adaptive Spin Kick, and depending on the terrain that is currently set up on the field, it changes, being a reference to Cecilia's insane immersion abilities. Let's get through this. So if no terrain is currently in play, it is just an 80 base power physical steel type move with no additional effects. If electric terrain is up, it becomes for one an electric type move and its power goes down to 65. But in return, it becomes a priority move with a priority of +1. In psychic terrain, Adaptive Spin Kick becomes a 90 base power psychic type move that bypasses accuracy checks, meaning it always hits no matter what, unless of course it gets protected or something like that. I intentionally made this the weakest one, since psychic terrain is widely agreed upon of being the most powerful terrain. That's why I decided to make this the weakest out of the 5 moves. In Misty Terrain, Adaptive Spin Kick becomes a Fairy type move with 80 base power, but it becomes a spread damage move. I felt like the least popular terrain should get a good effect, so there's actually a reason to go for Misty Terrain in the first place. Because without Tapu Fini being around, Misty Terrain is pretty much a non-factor. Finally, Grassy Terrain. In Grassy Terrain, we are looking at a 100% base power grass type move that basically becomes a draining move, healing Cecilia by 50% of the damage dealt to the enemy. Now this is honestly such a fun concept that can make Cecilia attractive for any team that likes to play around terrains. And I'm not gonna lie, if Cecilia was actually a Pokemon in the game, she would be in every single team I'd ever play. This sounds just way too fun to not use. The ability is also great, definitely the coolest concept I have come up with so far, in my opinion. Which brings us to the leader of Justice, Elizabeth Rose Bloodflame. Lovely to see you, lovely! Now when it comes to Liz, I kinda went a different direction than any other holo mem I have introduced so far, because she will be less of a traditional Pokemon and remind you guys probably more of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss monster. You will see what I mean by that once we get to the ability. Now Herb's typing was very easy for me. Raora gave her Fire Ghost, which is also fitting, but I think Fire Steel is just ever so slightly more fitting for her. Since girl is wearing armor and also swings a sword that is most likely metallic. Stat-wise, Liz is just good at everything. 100 in every stat but the one she doesn't use. Now this kind of stat distribution might not be the greatest for competitive usage, but for me Herb has to be just good at everything. Decent damage, decently good defenses and decent speed. Nothing too crazy, but also no stat is underwhelming. Now for Liz's ability. As the leader of Justice, Liz benefits from the other Justice members being around. And that is implemented by Herb looking at your party, and when she sees other Justice members in there, she will get additional benefits depending on which Justice member is in your party. First up, if you're only running around with Liz by herself. In that case, Liz would only have her normal ability, which does the following. When hit by a fire type move, she will create the Sea of Fire on the enemy side of the field. For those who don't know what that is, it's a very niche field condition that can usually only be created by using the moves Fire Pledge and Grass Pledge in the same turn, in a double battle. If you do that, these moves will combine to a stronger move and additionally create the Sea of Fire, damaging both enemy Pokemon for 1/8 of their HP at the end of the turn for exactly 4 turns. So this alone is honestly just a good effect. Of course, this only activates if Herb gets hit by a fire type move, so either you switch her into one or you attack her yourself. But now to the bony Liz gets when you have other Justice members in your party. When Gigi is in your party, Liz will partially adopt Gigi's ability Hyper and gain immunity to falling asleep, just like in real life when Gigi's around. If Raora is in your party alongside Herb, Elizabeth will gain a flat accuracy boost to all her moves, multiplying it with 1.67, which is the same boost you would get if you were to use the move Gravity. Finally, if Cecilia is in the party, Herb just straight up ignores any attack boosts the enemy has set up, such as Nasty Plot or a Sword Stance for example. But it's only attack boosts, so if the opponent has set up defenses, Liz's damage is still reduced by it. Now you probably understand why it's more of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss monster, since Herb technically is benefiting from a Justice archetype, and as we all know, archetypes are like a big thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the boss monster usually benefits from the whole archetype. And these stack, by the way. So if you have the entirety of Justice in your party, Elizabeth will get all those bony at once, making her the final boss of Justice. Finally, we have Herb's signature move, which is called Justice Slash. Yeah, I know, it's a bit corny, but let's be honest, Liz would probably call it something like that too. It's a solid 100 base power, 100% accurate physical steel type move, which has a simple yet powerful effect doing the following. If this move feigns an opponent, deal the excess damage to its ally Pokemon, meaning if you're in a double battle and feint one of the Pokemon with that move, all the excess damage will be inflicted to the other enemy Pokemon right away, which also is a mechanic that doesn't exist in Pokemon yet, making Justice Slash a very unique move. In a single battle, by the way, that move has literally no effect, so it's pretty much made for double battles. And this completes the final video of putting Holo EN in Pokemon. But don't worry, there are more gens and just overall more VTubers to be put into Pokemon out there, so we don't run out of juice anytime soon. Also, since all the Legend CA playthroughs of the girls are slowly concluding, I have the idea of testing the final teams of our favorite anime girls and see how well they would do in Scarlet and Violet on the online ladder. But that's just an idea for now. Let me know if you would like to see that. With that being said, have a nice rest of your day. See ya.